In what seems like no time at all, we've Purgle hyperspace jumped and have reached the halfway mark of Ahsoka, but has it really gone anywhere? What's up, Nerdgenic Nation and fellow Star Wars enthusiasts, Aaron Wally here, and today I want to give my thoughts on the 4th episode of the Star Wars Disney Plus series Ahsoka. This episode sees Sabine and Ahsoka facing off against Baylan and Shin in order to stop Morgan Elsbeth from getting the coordinates needed to make the jump to hyperspace to find Thrawn. And I don't know if I'm watching a different show than other people who are reacting with a lot of praise and emotion to the show, but I feel like there's so much happening that is so obvious that the reaction seems almost like overreacting. And put a pin in that because we'll continue to touch on this theme throughout the rest of this video. So one of the first major drops that happens in this episode is the mention of Thrawn being the heir to the Empire, which I think they said previously in this series, but honestly, I just can't recall. So let's just for a second react like this is a really big deal and act as confirmation to Filoni's upcoming film and film trilogy that he's supposedly doing, and that's super exciting. But as I've mentioned in a previous video, which you can check out here on the Nerdgenic channel, there will be a lot of departures from that story, but the story's pretty cool nonetheless. And in another somewhat cool moment that I felt I would never see in a Star Wars franchise, is there's a real steel rock'em sock'em robots type of moment where Huyang and another robot duke it out. And honestly, it was something that I didn't know that I wanted from this franchise, but now that it's happened, I kinda wanna see it happen again. But at the same time, this is also the point in the show where things take a turn into WTFville. With WTF of course representing What the Filoni, and mind you, we haven't even hit the 10-minute mark at this point in the episode. So the first big What the Filoni moment comes when Ahsoka takes on Marrok in the forest, which actually ends up being kind of a cool fight, but she does end up defeating him and he does a very Hellboy 2 moment and he's just sort of gassed in a suit. And this kind of leads me to believe that he was either a dead guy in the suit when it was kind of keeping him alive and or imprisoned, and that once he's touched by the air, he was released and could no longer hold that form. Which is kind of something that we've seen early on in Rebels where they thought that a Master Jedi was alive but turned out to be a trick. Not necessarily the same thing, but it's the only real parallel that I can make at this time. And simultaneously, that also has me questioning and wondering if they just snoked us with Marrok, or if there's actually a genuine chance that he'll actually make a return of some kind of substance. Because if it was all just for nothing, I kind of feel gypped. I mean, even if my theories or the other fan theories about him didn't pan out, I would have been totally fine with that. But to leave us with that and then not address it in the remainder of the episodes would be absolutely baffling. And of course, as the episode progresses, Sabine ends up giving up the map so that she can help find Ezra, and by association the enemy can find Thrawn. Which, I mean, how could that not be obvious as to what would happen? It's really not surprising because we've seen Thrawn in the trailer, and we've even seen him on the very hyperspace ship deck that we've seen in several episodes. So of course when watching this, I felt like there was absolutely nothing at stake here, as I already know that they find a way to use the map and get to Thrawn because he's in the trailers. We already know that he's coming. This isn't a surprise to anybody. Why it's such a crazy revelation that the bad guys would win at least to that degree should not be surprising. But what was a surprise, and I tread very lightly in even calling it that, was the final moments of the episode, where Ahsoka finds herself in the world between worlds after having fallen off of a cliff battling Baylan, where she encounters none other than Hayden Christensen's Anakin Skywalker. Now, this was once again yet another not really big surprise that Anakin appears. We kind of already knew that he was coming, and it's kind of long been rumored and even confirmed that he would be making some kind of an appearance in Ahsoka. So again, there seems to be a lot of fan overreaction for no real reason here, but it is the context in which we encounter Anakin that is the biggest What the Filoni. We had previously seen the world between worlds in the Rebels final season, but it took quite a lot for Ezra to even get there, and even to at least save Ahsoka from a battle between her and Vader that happened in season 2, so Ahsoka has been in the world between worlds before, and I'm sure that she'll touch more upon that in the next episode. But the point is that she encounters a younger Anakin, not just the younger Anakin, a pre-Vader form of Anakin, and a form of Anakin that isn't a Force ghost. Which leads me to the only theory that I've been able to surmise as to why he's there as that Anakin, which is that he perhaps at some point in his transition to the dark side, perhaps not, stumbled upon and or discovered the world between worlds by going through a Jedi temple of some kind, and then was walking around and saw Ahsoka in trouble, much like Ezra had, and thus was just simply attempting to save her in that moment. Which really leads us to nothing new here, because this is kind of something that's already happened between Ezra and Ahsoka, just now flipped to Anakin and Ahsoka. But according to Dave Filoni, the world between worlds is fluid in time, so it's entirely possible that Anakin could see his Padawan in distress and more or less try and step in to help. But as our good friend the rambling nerd Anthony from Nerd Affiliated pointed out to me, Anakin being in the world between worlds doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, as the amount of work that he would have to do to get there and simultaneously not interfere with major moments where he could potentially save his loved ones like his mother or even Padme, which was essentially the entire reason that he turned to the dark side in the first place, and then never say anything about it to anyone seems rather unlikely. So they're more or less just putting themselves into yet another corner that they'll have to write themselves out of by putting themselves into yet another corner. But again, that's the only reason that I have as to why and or how we may be encountering this Anakin with this specific look in the world between worlds. Of course, I'm sure all of this will be explained next week, but as for now, that's the best that I've got. But as for the episode overall, all in all, this was just yet another okay one. I felt like a bit more was finally starting to happen, and certain things obviously piqued my interest in this episode, which I mean I certainly hope that it would do, considering that we're at the halfway point of this season already. And I mean if they didn't do that by now, something was seriously wrong. Not that there wasn't already. But this one was yet another okay episode that was largely just a major setup for the next episode. I didn't love it, I didn't hate it, and I have questions, sure, but I'm not sobbing like so many viewers apparently did, nor am I chomping in the bit, because again, we already know what's coming to a degree. But as for the series so far, they'll need to pull a seriously big what the Filoni moment in order to have me really hooked, and as of the halfway point, that really hasn't happened yet. But things are slightly picking up, and that has me intrigued to always keep watching yet again week after week. But anyway, those are my thoughts for now on episode 4 of Ahsoka, and now I want to hear from you in the Nerdgenic community. What did you think of this episode? What is your Marrok theory? What is your Anakin theory? Are these episodes even exciting you? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and while you're down there, be sure to hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell notification so you don't miss out on any future videos, as well as my thoughts on the next episode of Ahsoka. And also be sure to give us a follow across all social media platforms at Nerdgenic. That way you don't miss out on any special news, announcements, or articles at nerdgenic.com. But in the meantime, if you want even more video content from us, check out my thoughts on the previous episode of Ahsoka right over here, or for more Star Wars content, check out this playlist right over here. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching, we really do appreciate it. We hope to see you in the next video, and once again, may the Force be with you.